Direct News TV. March 14, 2024. Ukraine holds out despite stalled US aid, fears deep advances by Russia. Russian rhetoric has been dialed up in the run-up to President Vladimir Putin's expected re-election. Putin reminded the world of Moscow's nuclear readiness, and military reporters amplified battlefield skirmishes against Ukrainian defenders. But not all of Putin's pre-election news coverage went as planned. Ukraine scored drone attacks against Moscow and Russian oil facilities, and anti-Kremlin fighters made their presence felt on Russian soil. Putin's nuclear threat on Wednesday, the second in as many weeks, was measured. In a pre-recorded television interview he said Russia's nuclear forces were ready from a military technical point of view and touted them as the most advanced in the world. His comments, made 6 days after Sweden officially joined NATO as its 32nd member, were mild compared with a warning 2 weeks ago after French President Emmanuel Macron left open the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine. They must realize that we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory. All this really threatens a conflict with the use of nuclear weapons and the destruction of civilization. Don't they get that? Putin said on February 29. Putin is running for a third consecutive 6-year term. He has passed constitutional amendments suspending a ban on more than 2 consecutive terms for himself personally. It allows him to rule until 2036 and has led both Russian and Western critics to label his continuing to hold office as illicit. In October, the Council of Europe described his presidency as a de facto dictatorship and urged its member states to recognize Putin as illegitimate. Russian crawl. Russian forces continued to make marginal advances on the Eastern Front for a 4th straight week after the fall of Avdiivka on February 17, but the pace of these advances has slowed considerably, suggesting Ukraine has managed to absorb Russian momentum. On Friday, geolocate footage showed they entered the village of Tonink and advanced towards Berdichi, both west of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region. Russian forces had already been on the edges of both settlements a week earlier. Ukraine's Tavria group of forces, which is fighting in the area, said this front had stabilized. The advance has actually stopped. The Russian military is making small movements in this direction, spokesperson Dmytro Likhofei said. There were other minor Russian advances in Donetsk. Russian forces have been trying to roll back Ukrainian gains west of Bakhmut, and on Sunday, geolocate footage showed they had entered the village of Ivanovsk. Russian forces captured the village of Shevchenko, southeast of the city of Donetsk, on March 10, and the following day advanced in several places along the front in the area. Towards the northern end of the front, geolocate footage showed that Russian forces approached the village of Terny from the east and reached the outskirts of Sinkivka, 2 settlements in Donetsk and Kharkiv, respectively. On the whole, though, these advances were measured in hundreds of meters, hundreds of yards, and the overall shape of the front remained unchanged. What seems to continue to be instrumental in Russia's minor successes is the use of glide bombs. These are normally massive conventional inertial bombs carrying 675 kilograms, nearly 1,500 pounds, of explosives, fitted with fins and tails to fly farther and strike with greater accuracy. The German tabloid Bild reported that Russia is now mass-producing the weapons. Russian military reporters said Russia also produced an improved glide bomb design this year, including engines and satellite guidance systems that increased its range from 40 to 70 kilometers to 95 kilometers, 25 to 45 miles to 60 miles. These powered bombs enable Russian planes dropping them to fly farther away from the front, reducing their vulnerability to Ukrainian air defenses, which claimed 15 aircraft in February and early March. Ukrainian leap. While holding the front more or less steady, Ukraine focused on striking deep inside Russia. On Saturday, several explosions were recorded in Rostov, less than 100 kilometers, 60 miles, from the Ukrainian border, with at least one geolocate to a Beryl plant repairing and refurbishing A-50 radar and reconnaissance planes. Ukraine has targeted these planes, destroying 2 this year, because they spy on Ukrainian positions and give fighter bombers their coordinates. Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed on Saturday that it had shot down all 47 drones over 4 border regions, including Rostov. On Tuesday, Ukraine again sent a large salvo of drones, this time targeting energy infrastructure. Russia's defense ministry said it shot down 58. Ryazan Governor Pavel Makov said one drone struck the Ryazan refinery, 180 kilometers, 110 miles, southeast of Moscow and about 500 kilometers, 310 miles, from the Ukrainian border, starting a fire. Ukrainian news outlet Suspiln quoted security service sources as saying 2 further refineries had been targeted, in Rostov and St. Petersburg, as well as 2 airfields. There was no evidence that those attacks had succeeded. Ukraine's military intelligence said pro-Ukrainian Russian forces had staged a border incursion on Tuesday, clashing with Russian forces in border villages in Belgorod and Kursk. The Russian Volunteer Force and Freedom of Russia Legion are anti-Putin paramilitaries that first attacked Russia in March 2023. Russian sources first denied the incursion, then claimed to have repelled it. Whether it succeeded in the past week, Ukraine has been following through on tactics that have succeeded in the past, striking oil refineries and sinking or disabling as much as half of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. But in interviews with Western media, Ukrainian fighters on the front lines are raising the alarm about shortages of ammunition as United States military aid remains frozen in a Republican-controlled House of Representatives. The latest such warning came in Germany's Der Spiegel news magazine on Tuesday when Ukrainian servicemen warned they could not hold out forever under current conditions. Even Ukraine's new commander-in-chief,